Always gotta love the StreamYard fade outs. they, I don't know. I try to fade it out, and then they just go. We'll just cut the sound. Real abrupt, like. How y'all feeling? Good to see you. I know I'm starting the stream very late. Supposed to be here at 9, but I'm having a little issue with time management today. So clearly, um, and I had so many things come at me. I don't know. You guys ever have those days? It's a Monday. That's all I got to say. I was trying to do too many things at once, and was feeling real ambitious this morning, and then I ended up uh, not being able to set up the show the way that I wanted to. But we're all here, and we're going to do it. We're here, and we're going to do it. So welcome. We're live on YouTube, Rockfin, Colin, and on Twitter. You can watch the show on Twitter if that is your preferred location. I think it's kind of cool because I actually think a lot of people are watching on Twitter. A lot more people are watching on Twitter in general over time. So seems to be doing something. So that's cool. And I can't really, I don't know. Sometimes I want to be happy about Twitter. I feel like Twitter is more of an open space. And then sometimes I feel like that's just it's an illusion. It's an illusion. But let's go through it. This is extreme temperatures from around the world. Breaking news record 46.7 C currently at Agabries Falls. I guess that's how you pronounce it. South Africa. Highest temperature ever recorded in November in Africa 46.7. Temperatures are still rising. World climatic history is rewritten. Updates later. So yeah, retweeting themselves, extreme temperatures of the world. Let's find out what that temperature is in Fahrenheit. 116. 116. Rich Diana. Twitter X is a terrorist organization? That's funny. Right, because the ADL. Is that what you're referring to? Or are you referring to the suit? Right. They are. racist and terrorist. So there you go. Also in Greece, at this time, temperature should be 10 degrees Celsius. This year is already lost. We fear next year will be similar. This is from Doomer Girl News. I don't even want to think what will happen if another such year follows. Sorry, you can't see that. Try and let you guys see these things that I'm looking at. So we're going to come back and look at that. Winter isn't coming. Climate change hits Greek olive crop. Yeah, I don't, who knows what's going on with Elon Musk? Who knows? This is actually could have just been the whole show. I feel like there's a lot to say about this. And we are definitely going to come back and I'm going to read this. But thank the Huffington Post for doing an article on this. A roll of the dice, the unknown threat of exposure to chemical mixtures. So I'm going to come back and read this article. But basically this is about, well, we know that certain chemicals have negative effects or reactions or cause, whatever they cause, right? They're carcinogenic or long-term exposure, obviously, very toxic, etc. But what happens when those chemicals mix together? And you can just zoom out on this, right? The whole planet and what we've been doing for decades, right? Pushing all these chemicals and toxins out into the environment over decades. And we know that singularly these things might be dangerous, but what are they? And apparently, I'm going to get back to this article, but when it's the interactions between these chemicals that can be, it's like a drug interaction, right? People who are on prescription drugs. You take one drug, it has a certain effect. You take another drug, it has another effect. But if you take those drugs at the same time, it could be really, you could be in for a wild ride, right? Pope Francis says that what is happening in Gaza, Israel, is not a war. Francis says it has progressed to sheer terrorism. Pope Francis is correct. Does he actually say it here? Yeah. I can't. Sorry. I'm going to have to put it in another place. In order to be able to hear it correctly. Let's see. Nope. Or I can put it somewhere, anywhere at all. There we go. Let's see if we can hear.
Oltre le guerre.
The Pope. Not the Bishop, but the Pope.
Questo non è guerra già, questo è terrorismo. Questa mattina ho ricevuto 2 delegazioni, una di israeliani che hanno parenti come ostaggi in Gaza e un'altra di palestinesi che hanno dei parenti prigionieri in Israele. Loro soffrono tanto e ho sentito come soffrono ambedue. Le guerre fanno questo, ma qui siamo andati oltre le guerre. Questo non è guerra già, questo è terrorismo. Per favore andiamo avanti per la pace. Pregate per la pace. Pregate tanto per la pace. Che il Signore metta mano lì, che il Signore ci aiuti a risolvere i problemi e non andare avanti con le passioni che alla fine uccidono tutti. Preghiamo.
For the people on call-in, he's just saying, pray for peace. He says, pray for the Palestinian people.
Per il popolo
And there are people in the
palestinese,
crowd holding
preghiamo
up.
per il popolo israeliano,
He says, pray
perché
for the
venga la
Israeli people that
pace.
peace may come.
A tutti la mia benedizione.
But there are people in the crowd holding up signs that say the Nakba continues and genocide, etc. And Nantucket people to Biden, we charge you with genocide. Genocide Joe gets a holiday reminder of his signature achievement. I guess we're going to have to watch this one too. Genocide Joe. What a legacy Joe Biden has left. It's hard to hear.
This is a community tree lighting. We respect your right to free speech. We just ask this is not a political event. We respect your right to free speech.
It's hard to hear over the bells. But people are yelling,
It's not a political event. Thank you very much.
chanting, we charge you with genocide. JJ, you can't hide, we charge you with genocide. Something like that. Anyways. Aaron Mate says it's a signature achievement. I don't know. He's done so many things. Maybe it's a signature achievement. He's really done so much in such a small amount of time. He's got us involved in 2 wars. He's bringing back the days of Obama when we could just start, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 wars all at the same time, and people are supposed to not notice because, well, he's a Democrat, so. Not that the lunatic before him that was supposed to get us in all the wars and lead us to World War III, not anything like him. But the lunatics, prior to, I don't know, there was, Bush, Obama. Bush was pretty good at getting us into wars. And Paul Beckwith posting the stock prices of all your favorite companies: Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, all looking just about the same, doing smashingly well. And Paul Beckwith asks, I wonder why. They are doing so well. Steve Austin says, pretty sure we're not going to make it. This isn't a line for the next iPhone. This is a line for forming for the Cybertruck. I guess you can thank Elon Musk for a lot of things. So, maybe you can thank him for slightly more free speech on Twitter. Maybe. You could also thank him for helping rekindle a new economic, the next capitalism boom, which is electric cars. More from extreme temperatures around the world. More contrast from Europe. Snowstorms are sweeping the Balkans and parts of Ukraine, while the warm advection just east is sending temperatures close to 25 C in Krasnodar region of Russia. In the Krasnodar region. Tomorrow, the warm air is moving east with 30 C possible in Central Asia. Extreme blizzard conditions are going on in Ukraine and elsewhere in Europe. It's getting a little bit of the old extreme weather. Fun with the jet stream. Oh, did I forget something here? Oh, this is also important post from Paul Beckwith. Be careful. Well, he's replying to Patrick Mazza, who says, Michael Mann says the published evidence offers a simple conclusion. Keeping global heating to 1.5 C would require global emissions to be cut in half over the next decade and is entirely doable, quote unquote, and, quote, simply a matter of political willpower. Paul Beckwith says, be careful when you say 1.5 C relative to what? Baseline should always be stated, not assumed. The present assumption is 1880-1910 average. We were 1.25 C above that in 2020. Original IPCC baseline was 1750. Add 0.3 C to switch baselines. We're already at 1.55 C above the 1750 baseline in 2020. That's in 2020, which is 3 years ago. We're actually at 1 point, we're, 1.4, pretty close to 1.5 relative to the 1880 baseline. I mean, this year, using the 1880 baseline, we've already hit, 1.5, 1.7, all the way to 2. I don't see how we're not even 1.5 relative to that, but whatever. I know there are numbers and averages and stuff like that, but I'm just saying. I don't think that Biden started the Israel war. I'm saying it's his, seems to be now, duty bound or whatever. It's a project that the U.S. is backing, full force. So, and they could say, nah, you guys, do your own thing. No, we're sending troops and weapons and, so we're fully in it. I mean, if you want to, if you want to, if you want to fudge around with the facts, I guess you could say we didn't start the Ukraine war either. But we seem to be awfully involved in it, right? Anyways. So, anyways. And I never joke. It's all serious all the time, too. All right. Let's go back to this. I'm going to look at this. I want to look at this article because this is really important. Everybody good? How you doing, Rockfinners? You good? Got some people watching on Rockfin. Go ahead, chime in. Let's see. I'm going to have to read. Nope. There's so many buttons to push. Hey, that's funny. Anyways. Well, feel free to, welcome extra info. I think you need some extra info. Maybe that's why you're here. So I don't need your extra info, but if you would like some extra info by hanging out, feel free. All right. Roll a dice. The unknown threat of exposure to chemical mixtures. Environmental agencies are often quick to declare the air, water, and soil safe after chemical disasters like the Ohio train derailment, but huge knowledge gaps exist. You don't say. Well, this is interesting. Shortly after entering the public field of public health, or the public field of public health, the field of public health in the early 1970s, Stephen Lester learned there was one thing he should steer clear of studying: how exposure to multiple chemicals at once might be devastating to human health. Oh, and he said he learned there was one thing he should steer clear of studying. Why? Why should he steer clear? It was nearly impossible to secure government grant money for mixture studies due to monumental hurdles in interpreting the results and ultimately determining which chemicals might have caused any documented health issue. If, for example, you exposed a rat in a lab to 7 chemicals and the rat developed cancer, you could conclude the mixture caused cancer, but there are no closer to being able to say which toxin or combination of toxins was responsible. Researchers didn't bother submitting grant applications to do such work. Little has changed in 50 years. Sure. All right. Little has changed in 50 years. Few mixture studies receive funding. Very little data on the effect of chemical mixtures exists. And when disasters strike, scientists assess risk the way they've been doing it for decades. One chemical at a time, even though the reality is that people are often exposed to a cocktail of different chemicals. You have these risk numbers, and they're all driven by one chemical exposure at a time, said Lester, a toxicologist and the science director for the Center for Health, Environment, and Justice. Those numbers don't have any reality in the world. But yet, if you talk to the best scientists in the world, they'll say that what we have to use, that's what we have to use because that's what we've got. In communities like East Palestine, Ohio, where residents were exposed to potentially dozens of different chemicals following the fiery derailment of a Norfolk Southern train in February, environmental agencies are often quick to declare the air, water, and soil safe, despite having little grasp of how substances could be interacting to harm human health. And what about the health of the animals and the other living beings? But it's cool. We're all just a little anthropocentric, so let's keep it real. We really just know we know just short of nothing about this, and yet we are making statements to the public that it's fine. All the work that we've done, all the science that we know is not enough. Man, this is important stuff. This is really important stuff, right? They don't fund these kind of studies, and very little is known. We know next to nothing. And yet this could be, some of the most important stuff ever, right? The Norfolk Southern train careened off the tracks February 3rd while hauling toxic chemicals, including hundreds of thousands of pounds of vinyl chloride, a common organic chemical used in the production of plastics that has been linked to several types of cancer. Fearing a potentially catastrophic explosion, Well, they blew it up. The railroad and local authorities temporarily evacuated people in the immediate area. They actually did just burn it up. So, and intentionally vented and burned the vinyl chloride, releasing a thick plume of toxic smoke into neighboring communities. Because that makes total sense. Since then, the Environmental Protection Agency has repeatedly stressed there is little cause for concern, even as residents have continued to report a myriad of lingering health impacts: nosebleeds, headaches, respiratory problems, rashes, and irregular menstrual cycles, and they are convinced are linked to the derailment. Well, that's silly, right? These things weren't happening before, and now they're happening, but it has nothing to do with the thing that just happened. I'm sure that's what they're going with, right? Since then, the Environmental Protection Agency has repeatedly stressed there is little cause for concern. Yet the danger in East Palestine may not be any one chemical, but several working in tandem, and the fields of toxicology and epidemiology remain largely incapable of investigating and understanding that threat. Excuse me. Linda Birnbaum, a toxicologist and former director of both the National Institute for Environmental Health Sciences and National Toxicology Program, said the scientific community very rarely tries to investigate the totality of exposure during such disaster events. The most toxic chemicals, those known to cause cancer and other serious health impacts, often dominate a response effort for obvious and practical reasons. Occasionally, health experts will look into the risk of exposure to broad classes of chemicals, such as dioxins or volatile organic compounds, VOCs, but Birnbaum said she can't think of any time where people have tried to put it all together. It's because that's not, I don't know. Because you wouldn't want to do that, right? You wouldn't want to get like a holistic picture of what's going on. You wouldn't want to put all the things together and get like a real, overview of what's happening. You wouldn't want to do that. Scientifically, that's just, wacko or something. I don't know. Mixtures are a complex problem that has long frustrated the field of toxicology, Birnbaum said. We know there are times you get something from nothing, she said, but by that, I mean you can have lots of chemicals present, which, if they were by themselves, you're not going to see any response. But put them together, and you do. And we have not gotten very good at doing that. HuffPost was unable to find recent data on the percentage of toxicology resources that go to studying chemical mixtures. In a 2005 research article, science writer Emily Moneson noted that a limited review of 151 papers published in 1992 suggested that some 95% of the resources in toxicology is devoted to single chemical studies. Lester expects that figure hasn't changed much. Though government agencies have increased efforts to investigate mixed chemical exposures, primarily in response to public criticism, the progress has been limited, she said. Single substance research still dominates. EPA and other public health agencies operate under the assumption that multiple chemicals have an additive effect, meaning the toxicity and negative impact can be added together proportionally. But there are various examples of what's known as synergism, when chemicals combine to have an effect above and beyond what you'd expect from just adding them together. On the flip side, the opposite can occur. One chemical could potentially dampen the impact of another, a phenomenon known as antagonism. EPA says it immediately reached out to the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry following the derailment to establish short-term, intermediate, and long-term action levels that are very conservative, take into account risk to sensitive populations, young children, elderly, etc. To date, sampling has found chemical concentrations at levels that pose a very low risk to human health, even though everybody's having nosebleeds and all kinds of headaches and whatnot. The agency spokesperson said via email. EPA uses peer-reviewed published data to derive our risk levels, blah, blah, blah. The spokesperson said, we acknowledge that much more research is needed to increase our understanding of cumulative impacts of chemical mixtures, and that this is a complex and evolving science. In order to be as protective as possible of human health, EPA uses a risk-based science that's currently available to us and assumes that the effect of individual chemicals are additive during an exposure to a chemical mixture. Oh, okay. Even though everything is fine, they say. But they say they're also being as protective as possible of human health. EPA and a small army of Norfolk Southern contractors have monitored for a myriad of individual chemicals, but there has not been, and there are no current plans for a more thorough assessment to determine. Hold on one second. All right. Sorry about that. To determine, where was I? If numerous chemicals at low levels could be wreaking havoc on residents' health. What's happening in East Palestine has played out at contaminated site after contaminated site. Take Toms River, New Jersey, where for decades chemical corporations Ciba-Geigy and Union Carbide dumped toxic waste into the ground and water, contaminating the drinking supply. The legacy of industrial pollution was believed to be responsible for a spike in childhood cancer in the 1980s and 90s. In his Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Tom's Story, A Story of Science and Salvation, author Dan Fagan writes that one state official had advocated for a thorough cumulative risk assessment of all toxic chemicals. Present at the site by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection nixed the idea. I wonder why. I'm betting, I'm betting that people don't want liability. Anyways, this is all I'm going to read of this, but I mean, that is really an alarming bit of information, right? That they don't even fund these kind of tests, that very little is known, that when people try to find out or raise alarms, they shut them down. But, also, surprise, surprise, surprise. Is it Gomer Pyle that used to say that? Probably because nobody wants any liability, right? Nobody wants the blowback. Nobody wants liability. Nobody wants to be held accountable. And there are probably very big players, right, who have a lot of money and have a lot of interest in nixing anything coming out. All right, extra info. You're out of here. You can watch the show. I just put you in a timeout. Yeah, nobody wants your extra info, bro. Okay? Sorry. Don't come in here with that stuff. I'm a big proponent of free speech, but I'm not a big proponent of people propagandists posing as, actual people that want to, you're paid to come into the chats and rile people up and, no, we all know what's happening. So get out of here. So sorry. Not having it. I can tell the difference between someone who's, honestly has a disagreement, and people that honestly have a disagreement will just leave. Right? If you don't like what you're hearing, you just go away. That's what people do. They're just like, nah, I'm good. You don't you don't get in the chats and go, no, you're totally wrong, and this is completely out of hand, blah, blah, blah. No. That's not what it is. That's not what people do. That's what propagandists do. And, whatever. I see your game. I'm not playing it. I'm not allowing for it. If you want to have an actual conversation, that's totally fine. Totally fine. William, how's it going, man?
Hey, Kev, can you hear me okay today?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you feeling?
Good. Well, I'm having a little trouble with my phone, so I couldn't put the links in. But remember we talked about the Cleveland 19 EPA photo diagram on East Palestine and how it's actually 22 tanker rail cars that full of toxic material that derailed, not 11, right? Remember we talked about that?
Yes.
So at 30,000 gallons apiece, let's just assume they're all full. Some may be partially full. You're between 600,000 and 660,000 gallons of toxic material, none of which was exported. Despite oxyvinyl chloride coming out in the NTSB hearings, that car was not ruptured, the temperatures were not rising, so the material was not polymerizing, and the vent valves were working, the vent valves, and they requested 3 times to export their material in tanker trucks. Remember all that? So this is a huge cover-up. The volume of toxic material that went up in flames that combines with all the soot and all the particulates, and there were so many different chemicals, if you recall, when we went over that maybe you could pull it up if you want. I don't know if you want to expand on this at all or revisit it, but I'm just having trouble putting that link in the live chat for you. Cleveland 19 EPA photo diagram. So they're minimizing this by half the number of tanker cars derailed. That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
right. And now Times Beach, Missouri, when they had a dioxin issue, they leveled that whole town and they evacuated it. Remember, they had some fellow who was spraying
Right.
some on the roads. It was a dioxin contaminated oil on the roads, and the first clue was the horses that started dying and the livestock,
Mm-hmm.
and then they evacuated the whole town. Now, there was an independent testing agency that went into East Palestine, if you recall, and found contamination levels up to 164,000% higher than what they expected to find and what EPA was reporting. So the EPA is totally corporate captured.
Sure.
They work, right. Who do they work for? Just like all the agencies, they're agencies for the corporatocracy we all live in, the inverted totalitarianism, as Sheldon Wallen talks about, and Democracy Incorporated. And so they're all a cover, all of them. Just like you mentioned the Catholic Church, just like the Rape Crisis Centers, Sexual Violence Alliances, they cover for the church. If they didn't, Kev, there'd be a whole lot of priests, bishops, and cardinals in prison.
Yeah.
Obvious.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, there obviously was, just so much going going on with that particular spill, right? In Palestine, obviously, there was a time when they even took these health threats, more seriously, right? I don't know, or at least when they get, the news gets out about it, they used to react in a way, kind of like when vaccines that would hurt people. They'd go, "Oh my God, this is terrible. We got to stop giving this vaccine to people." And now they're like, "What are you talking about? You're you're crazy for calling out, saying that this vaccine is, no, you're the crazy one." Like, it's just gotten they don't even respond to it in the same way. They're just like, "How about another one? How about another one?" But anyways,
I want to mention 2 more quick things. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I was gonna let you go, man, because I gotta take off pretty soon. I just had a couple more things I wanted to cover.
Can I make 2 more quick comments on the East Palestine photo diagram, real quick?
Sure.
One, Real Car 23, which was a cargo car carrying vinyl pellets, it's nowhere in the diagram. The one that had the hot axle, for whatever reason, it's not in the diagram. I don't know why it's not. There are 2 box cars that they label as having vinyl pellets. There's a difference. Those are used for injection molding when they melt them. Okay. The other thing is, Kev, if you have a chance, anybody, take a quick look at that photo diagram, then look at photos of train derailments. Normally when trains derail, if you imagine, there's all that force and inertia. This train car was at least a mile to a mile and a half long. I read different reports. That's an immense amount of inertia moving. Usually they pile up and get tangled up on one another, and some end up nose up. You see what I'm saying? If you imagine a train derailing, they fold up and they pile up on one another, right? Look at photo diagrams of other train derailments. Look at this one. They're all laying right next to one another like cigars. A couple are perpendicular, but there's none laying on top of one another, Kev.
Yeah.
And there's only one that has a rear end of it over the track. I've never seen a more orderly train derailment, and they're all on their side.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
It's interesting for sure. For sure. It is a weird
Total
thing.
anomaly. I mean,
Yeah.
defies physics, kind of like 9/11. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll let you go.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, man. I appreciate it.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. All right, man. Yeah. I see everybody in the chat is responding to the. I might be wrong, y'all. I might be wrong. It's just I can tell when people are just the intention, and yes, Bulla, you called it out. When the intention is to just be disruptive and get me to like respond, and in a way they were successful. But they're not coming in with they're not like, and maybe they truly believe what they believe. Maybe they really, are really just gung ho. They really believe this, but I just don't have time for it. I don't have time for it. And mostly I think these folks are not actual, not legitimate. Not necessarily legitimate accounts, but it's just my own crazy theory. They really believe so much that they will not listen to any alternative. Yeah, they're either just fanatics, zealots, if you will, or fanatical believers in the narrative. Or they could be actually, engaged in a monetary way in spreading a particular narrative or trying to interrupt what's going on. Whatever, anyways. Next time, I'm not even gonna actually respond. I don't even know why I do. Anyways, last thing I want to look at. Winter isn't coming. Climate change hits Greek olive crop. The absence of a deep winter is proving difficult to cope with. The climate has changed and the trees cannot cope with these big changes. We no longer have winter at all, said a Greek farmer, a Greek organic farmer, Zaharula Vasilaki. In mid-November, the temperatures in the Halkidiki region of Polyeuros, northern Greece, was still over 15 degrees Celsius, or that's 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 59 degrees Fahrenheit. I consider climate change the main challenge this season, noted Nikos Anoixis. I'm probably just butchering these names. A board member of DOPEL, the Greek National Interprofessional Organization for Table Olives. At this time, the temperature should be 10 degrees Celsius. The year is already lost, and we fear next year will be similar. I don't even want to think what will happen if another such year follows. Vangelis Evangelinos has been growing edible olives in his family land in the Halkidiki, northern Greece, since he was a child. At 62, he does not recall adverse weather conditions such as his area has endured this year, or such a poor crop ever before. We've never had a year such as this. Evangelinos told AFP 2 months after the Thessaly region to the south was devastated by massive floods. The rainfall is intense and brief, the opposite of what is needed to enrich the soil, he said. The warm weather has affected some 6 million trees in the region, according to producers and experts. This year, the phenomenon of fruitlessness was very intense, but it is an issue that we have noticed mainly in the last 5 years, said Vasilaki, 48. The European Union's olive production giants, Italy and Spain, have faced similar problems, pushing up prices. Spain, the world's biggest producer of olive oil, suffered a very difficult year in 2022, and drought this year has compounded the problem. In Italy, this year's olive harvest is down by an estimated 80%, according to producers. The EU estimates global olive oil production will fall more than 26% in 2022, 2023, compared to a year earlier to just over 2.5 million tons. In the EU itself, production is expected to drop 39%. Good God. 39%. That's a serious drop. Jay Gibbons says they're stealing the olives out of the groves in Italy. Rudolf Zavedno says 40% olive oil reduction this year. Geez, it's about to get really expensive. Olive oil is already expensive. It's about to get much more expensive, right? 39% drop. Geez, that is significant. The growers here say it is very important for the trees to rest in the winter. It takes about 1 to 2 months of good cold weather for the tree to rest so that it can yield later. So there you go. That is just yet another knock-on effect of the climate that is changing. And you can, say, nah, we've had these times before where things went weird. Okay. And I hope that you are the correct, I hope if that's your position, I hope you're in the right, I hope you're the right one. And that this isn't, this is just a glitch, an anomaly, something that's in the cycle. I don't know. The problem is that if this continues to go on or get worse, and if you pay attention to the trend lines, and if you, or take in the information that is gathered in the data that is pointing in a particular direction, and it continues to get worse, and it continues to get more difficult to grow food, if it continues to get more difficult to grow food, then that starts to become a serious thing, right? And how about a bunch of mixtures of toxic chemicals? Throw that in there, right? Throw in the lack of fertilizer, right? Or throw in the degradation of topsoil, or oh man, there's so many factors that can and probably will interact with each other to cause, cause the quote unquote perfect storm. Let's see. Oh, I do have some. Now I can see the chats. Oh, somebody's very mad at me. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you can be so kind about it. No, man, I don't. That's cool. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying the show, SG Reptile. Just reading your comments. Your name, though, is interesting. I don't know why you chose reptile, but that's fine. Does it mean anything? Can you tell me if that has any significance? Your name? I don't know. Just waiting for a response. I'm talking to somebody on the call-in chat. It's all good. You know, sometimes I just get a little bit, oh, you're bad because you're banning people from having another opinion. No, not necessarily. I don't care if somebody has another opinion. As I said, it's fine. There are plenty of people with other opinions that I've argued with on this channel, but I just, when I see people that I've never seen before, just jump in and start going goofy. But I don't, who knows? I don't know, man. There are a lot of people out there that are really super, what's the word? Brainwashed. Brainwashed is the word. A lot of people that are brainwashed. Like, and maybe it's just hard for me to understand. That you believe the things that that, I don't know. Yeah. Well, and I think that's why I banned him, was that he was just yelling his opinion. No, you're absolutely stupid and you're wrong. Like, okay, all right, fine. And I gave him a chance. I said, hey, you could just listen. You just listen. It's all right, And it's cool. I mean, this person is not. Oh, and you're back. That's funny. So this is how I know that you're not a real person. Extra info. Because I just banned you. And now you're back with the same. This is how I know that you're not a real person. Or you're a lunatic because you have another account that just came up with the same name. And now you're in the chats again. This is how I know you're not real. Or you're a lunatic. Or you're a real lunatic. I don't know. It's funny, though. I find it really interesting that I banned you and then you're back. Hilarious. Y'all are just proving my point, by the way. The people that supposedly have a different opinion, or you're just proving my point. You're just like, you're not actual people. No, a regular person would not go like, oh my God, I am so, I mean, maybe if you're just so mad and you have nothing else to do, you got to create another account and come back in and yell at me. I don't know. It's just, well, I put him on a timeout and then it said he was banned. I don't know. I thought I banned him. How long are the timeouts for, Poppy? Maybe it's my bad. Maybe I messed up. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing, but all right. Okay, guys. Thanks so much. I appreciate you. I don't really want to go on and on about this. But thanks for listening. Yeah, I didn't think that he could come. I put him on a timeout. I didn't think he would be like, the timeout's like, oh, it's 5 minutes. I can come back and yell at you some more. All right. Thanks, y'all. You guys are great. Before I leave, you know how to support the show. BuyMeACoffee.com/BlackBurnNews. Cash App at Red Llama Music. Venmo at Kevin Sandbloom. PayPal.me/Kevin Sandbloom. You can Zelle me at KevinSandbloom@ProtonMail.com. And thanks everyone that supports the show. Thanks for watching wherever you are. And I'll be back tomorrow at the regular time of 9 a.m. I'll be back at 9 a.m. tomorrow, okay? And we'll really try and be on time. Okay. Till next time. Peace.